Hey y'all, it's your girl Selah Salvation finally uploading a video to my channel. I found myself really in my head overthinking the whole situation, like, oh my goodness, what should I talk about? What should my channel be all about? I don't have the right equipment. My phone is real wonky. And then I'm like, you know what, girl, just do it. Just upload something. It's really not that serious. So here I am. And just a disclaimer, my phone is wonky, but what I'm not about to do is finance a phone. I mean, we're not talking about a car. I'm not paying upwards of hundreds of dollars or even $1,000 for a new phone. I'm not gonna do it. So y'all gonna have to, it's gonna have to do what it have to do. Meaning I have to manually flip between my television and myself until I get a new phone with the new features and all of the things. It's going to have to be what it's going to have to be. So today I wanted to talk about this situation concerning Malcolm-Jamal Warner's widow. I believe her name is Dr. Tanisha Warner, and his mom, Pamela Warner, and his estate that he left behind. There is apparently a lawsuit going on. So we are going to watch a brief video talking about it, and then I'm going to give my personal opinion on the entire thing. So here we go. I'm about to flip it.
Then, 1 year after the tragic death of beloved actor Malcolm-Jamal Warner, a legal battle is emerging over the estate he left behind. For 8 seasons, Warner grew up in America's living rooms as Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show. Look at these sleeves! Now, his widow, Dr. Tanisha Warner, is suing his mother, Pamela Warner, who oversees the Warner Family Trust. The lawsuit claims Tanisha is owed more than $1.2 million under a premarital agreement, including a $1 million life insurance policy that she says was never put in place, along with other financial commitments she alleges were left unfulfilled after his unexpected death. The petition also claims the trust was created nearly 3 decades ago, long before Malcolm married or became a father. Tanisha telling ABC News, Malcolm had every intention to provide for our 9-year-old daughter and me. Legally, I had no choice but to take action to protect our rights before any potential statute of limitations expired.
There are 2 kinds of trusts. One is called a revocable trust and one's an irrevocable trust. The reason that this lawsuit could succeed is because it seems this was a revocable trust, which means he still had control over it during his life. If this had been what's called an irrevocable trust, that would mean the money was out of his estate. And as a result, it would be much, much harder for her to win any lawsuit.
Pamela Warner has not yet responded to our request for comment. Warner died last July at the age of 54 after he was caught in a strong current while swimming during a family vacation in Costa Rica. In the months that followed, his mother sitting down with R. Robin Roberts.
I'm very grateful that I was chosen to be his mother. I think more than anything, I'm at peace with everything that happened. I feel that our journey together as mother and son was complete.
And Tanisha.
Okay, guys, so I didn't play the entire clip, but just wanted to give you guys, a brief overlook of the situation. So, I believe back in 1996, Malcolm-Jamal Warner created a trust, and he has, since then, he met Tanisha Warner. They got married, which in itself is very interesting because the marriage was very, very low-key, very, very under wraps. It wasn't really publicly announced, but in any event, he married Tanisha. They had a daughter who is now 9 years old. Apparently, there was some sort of prenuptial agreement that if anything was to happen and the marriage was to dissolve, that she was supposed to be giving $1.3 million. And then there was also a $1 million life insurance policy that she claims Malcolm had gifted or promised to her. Obviously, this was not, him passing away was a very untimely tragic event that he did not see coming, obviously. And it seems like upon his death, there was no updates made to the trust. And so now she is suing for what she says was essentially promised to her by Malcolm, the $1.3 million and the $1 million life insurance policy. And the mom, Pamela Warner, is disputing that claim, of course. The whole thing is just really, really tragic. I've been watching various YouTube videos where people are giving, their commentary on, how they feel about it. And there seems to be a lot of people that are like picking a side. Some people are saying, oh, she's out of pocket for doing this. She should respect her late husband's wishes. Like if he did not include her or her daughter into his trust, because at the time when they got married, there was obviously no children. But they're like, oh, if he didn't include her in the trust, there must have been a reason for that. She should honor his wishes. She's just money hungry. And, the mom is well within her rights to protect the trust and not want to come up off of that money. Then there are people that are siding with the widow saying, like, duh, why wouldn't she sue for what she says was promised to her, especially now that she has a child to raise and take care of. And at the end of the day, she was his wife. And then there are some people that are saying, well, why wasn't all of this hashed out prior to this tragedy unfolding? When he decided that he wanted to marry this woman, even before they had a child, wouldn't he have wanted to make sure that his wife was taken care of? Why didn't he amend the trust then? Maybe he promised her to do it at some point. Maybe he meant to do it, or he had it on his to-do list. And then unfortunately, this drowning occurred and it just never happened before his passing. So there's just so many different variables. And at the end of the day, nobody really knows what happened and why. Overall, it's just a very tragic situation. And I feel like it is definitely a cautionary tale, especially speaking from my own personal point of view and as a woman of a certain age. I just wanted to kind of give my take on it. I'm not necessarily picking sides because I am a mom to an adult daughter with children. So not only am I a mother, I am a grandmother as well. And, my daughter actually recently got married. And I remember one of the first things I was thinking is, as a mother, like, is she making the right decision? Does she understand the gravity of entering into marriage? Is she sure that, this is the partner for her? And the legal ramifications of it all, I did find myself thinking, I want to make sure that my grandchildren will be okay. And if God forbid something was to happen, that they will be taken care of, or that my daughter will be okay financially as well. She's gainfully employed. She works for the state. And I immediately thought about protecting her assets. I'm not going to lie. I mean, nothing personal against her partner, but that was my initial thoughts. So from that perspective, I could understand where the mom is coming from. Now, this trust, which we did see that guest lawyer point out, is a revocable trust, meaning that changes can be made to the trust by the person that originally created it. So Malcolm, when he was alive, he could have added or deleted, he could have, updated the trust any way he chose to update it, because it was still legally editable, if that makes sense, versus an irrevocable trust where once you've laid out everything that you want upon your passing, it cannot be altered or changed. But for whatever reason, he didn't do it. Something that's really important to emphasize on is when the trust was created. So the trust was created back in 1996. It's 30 years ago, where he, at the time of his life, obviously was not thinking about a family or even a wife for that matter. And I believe his mom was his manager. Correct me if I'm wrong. And so the trust was created at that time to protect his assets. And then here we go 30 years later. Obviously, a lot of things have changed in his life. So that should be considered as well. When I think about, the wife's point of view, and I may play a clip where they show her being interviewed on a morning show. She has a child, a 9-year-old child that she is raising, and obviously she wants to ensure that her child is taken care of and that her child receives what she feels she should be entitled to as the daughter of the late Malcolm-Jamal Warner. And, speaking for herself too, she was his wife. It wasn't like she was just his partner or longtime girlfriend or baby mama. She was his wife. He married this woman. He made an intentional decision. He decided, this is the woman that I want to give my last name to. This is the woman that I want to have a child with. Because when they met and got married, they were, I think in their maybe 40s. So this is not like one of those romances where he kind of met her in his 20s or whatever. Like, they were both pretty, mature adults. She had her daughter as a mature older woman. This was something that they obviously planned and wanted. It wasn't like a shotgun wedding or anything like that. So with him making those types of intentional decisions with her, you would think that one of the first things that he would have thought to do was update his trust. But, kind of putting it back on her as a woman, it's like, why didn't she ensure or kind of stay on him to make sure that this was done? And this is when, you kind of got to have some discernment, and you got to kind of look at yourself like, okay, keep it real. What would you have done in that situation? As a woman, you meet someone and you decide that this is your person, you love this person, and you trust them. And I'm sure that when she met him and they decided, because when you decide to marry somebody, to make someone your life partner, you have hopefully vetted them out, and you have determined that this is just a genuinely good human being that is going to look out for my best interests because they love me. And I'm sure that that was the train of thought that she had when she married him. Like, I know he's going to make sure that I'm taken care of. I know, he's going to make sure that I'm good. And then when a child became involved, I'm sure she was like, okay, I'm sure he's going to do the right thing. Again, I'm just assuming because I don't know. I wasn't a fly on the wall. I don't know what type of conversations they had, if they even had a conversation about the trust. But I'm thinking in my head that at some point they had to have had a conversation. But then again, did she even know that he had a trust? It's just a lot of unanswered questions, right? Like, did she even know that he had a trust? Because there was a prenuptial agreement. So maybe she didn't even know he had a trust, right? So in that case, maybe she thought that the prenuptial agreement would be enough. And then now she's hearing about the trust. Or she knew about the trust. He told her, I'm going to take care of it. You and our daughter, y'all are going to be good. And she trusted him as her husband, as her lover, as the father of her child. She trusted him. And it just made me kind of reflect about my own past experiences, romantic involvements, where you just really kind of you surrender your trust to your partner, right? You make these assumptions about somebody based on how they present to you, and the life that you're building with one another. And the last thing that you want to think about, or that you would think about, is that they would not make sure that you're good, that you're taken care of, And it just made me think about how, as women, sometimes we can give up that trust or give that trust to someone a little blindly, a little too quickly, because by nature we're nurturers, and you know, we are kind of conditioned to be the more passive gender, the more passive and understanding partner of the, you know, like, he's the man, let him take the lead so that he doesn't feel emasculated, that whole sort of thing. And then a situation like this plays out, and then there's an untimely or unfortunate tragic death, and then you're kind of left literally holding the bag. And that is what her situation is. I'm sure she's not destitute. It says here that she's a doctor. Not in a medical sense, I don't think, but I'm sure she's, you know, she and her daughter will be fine. But at the same time, you know, she has every right to feel like she is entitled to some of his trust. And you know, I can't really blame her for that. I did find a lot of people in the comments of various YouTube videos where they were talking about it, that were kind of like demonizing her, making her seem like it was just all about a money grab. And I think that too speaks to a larger issue in this society, where, especially with women of color, where when we speak up for something that we feel like we are entitled to, we're then labeled as selfish, we're labeled as having unpure intentions, we're labeled as being money hungry, and or, you know, like, difficult. And it's like, why is that? Why are we conditioned as women of color, or specifically Black women, to not be comfortable with asserting ourselves and saying, no, this is what I deserve, or I feel I deserve, and I'm going to speak up and advocate for myself? Why is that an issue for Black people? And then why Black women? And then why are we demonized for that within our own community, our own communities? That's something to really think about, because it's really unfortunate that we are perceived in that way. Because at the end of the day, whether or not she knew about the trust or she did know, whether or not he told her or promised her that he would write her into the trust or he didn't, you know, at the end of the day, she is not in the trust, and she had a decision. She could have just said, okay, he did not incorporate myself or our child into his trust, I'm just going to walk away, and it is what it is. Or I could push back and fight for what I feel me and my child deserve. She chose to do the latter, and that doesn't make her a bad person, you know? So yeah, I'm gonna see how this plays out. I feel like because the trust is revocable, she may have a chance. So yeah, I will definitely circle back and see how this plays out. I was going to play a little clip of the wife or the widow, just so you guys can get a sense of who she is and her demeanor, and, you know, what are your thoughts on how she's kind of presenting. So let me go to that really quickly. Just trying to get past these commercials. Okay.
This week marks 1 year since the tragic death of actor
And by the
Malcolm-Jamal
way,
Warner.
this interview is with Gayle King.
Malcolm had
There's
every
something
intention
about her
to
that I
provide for
don't
her 9-year-old
particularly
daughter.
care for. She just comes across as disingenuous to me, but that's just my personal opinion. Here's the wife.
You know, for all of us. Right now, my daughter and I are just like,
You guys are a unit.
yeah,
You guys are a unit.
yeah. You know, it's the emotional capacity that I have can be very limited sometimes, you know, and so I have to, for myself, decide what do I have to give right now in this moment, and whatever I have to give, the first person to get that is my daughter, and then the second is myself.
We'll have much more of our exclusive interview without knowing about this lawsuit. And I was really just asking that.
Okay, guys, I think I mistakenly stopped my video when I was actually trying to stop the video that I was playing for you guys. So just wanted a brief clip to show you guys the widow, Dr. Tanisha Warner, so that you can just kind of get a look at her. She wasn't really ever in the public eye that much when they were married, so a lot of people had no idea who she was, what she looked like. So there she is, and she's kind of talking about her experience since his passing, and she talked about how she has a limit, like emotionally, her emotional capacity is kind of reserved largely for her daughter, which is understandable because she's only 9 and she lost her dad, you know. So as a mom, she's in mama bear mode. So she's making sure that she has enough emotional capacity for herself so that she can in turn be there for her daughter, as I am sure they are both still actively grieving the passing of Malcolm. And now this is happening with the lawsuit. So it gives that this is not something that she wanted to happen, but she feels like it has to happen so that her daughter gets what she is entitled to. That's what it gives for me. Again, I didn't play the entire video for you guys, but yeah, what are your thoughts on this whole situation? Can drop down in the comments and let me know. Like I said, this is my first video on my channel. Well, it's not really my first, but it's my first in terms of getting back on the horse and trying it again and all of the things. And I'm just going to kind of go with the flow, and whatever seems organic to me, that's what I'm going to talk about. And I'll just upload it on my channel. I don't know what direction my content is going to go in, but it's just going to go in whatever feels right to me and whatever doesn't feel forced. And like I said, it is what it is with my phone, because I'm not paying $800, $900, $1,000 for no phone. I'm not going to do it. I'm not. So until then, I'm just going to have to work with what I got. So if you guys are willing to go on this journey with me, please subscribe, like, share the video. I promise that I will be as consistent as possible, and I promise that the content will get better. I promise. I'm doing my best. Anywho, thank you for spending some time with me today talking about this subject, and hopefully, well, not hopefully, you will see me soon when I post another video. Bye.